Mhm.
Okay, good morning, TK.
Welcome back. Thanks
Welcome
for having
back.
me, Darryl. Really appreciate it. I got all these Discord invitations from you, so I know that you're ready to go. It does say we had a conversation this morning very early, so I know you're an early riser.
I was up bright and early making sure that everything was working and that I had read the material that we were going to potentially discuss today.
Perfect.
I
That's
thought
that'll
I,
be
I
key.
thought I'd get everything ready. It's a big day. It was a big week in Toronto real estate today.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
this
definitely there's
week,
always
sorry, like big week.
there's changes obviously that are happening pretty quickly. I think what we're looking at over the next, another month or two, probably or more, is daily updates. I mean, something comes up every single day, and if you're not on top of it, it's like what can you really do? I mean, what can you say? I mean, if someone's got information that they know because they read today's headlines and you didn't, they got more power over you. Knowledge is power, so it's important to stay on top of it. And the government is throwing all sorts of stuff at this COVID-19 financial crisis as well as the health crisis. And, we don't know what they're going to do next. So,
When I look at all this material,
mhm.
I see multiple stories going on here. There's a lot of good shit going on in Toronto right now, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of pretty devastating stuff going on in Toronto right now.
yeah,
And you can see the articles are going both ways. Like right now, we look at the screen. Toronto real estate market is suddenly on fire again, right?
it's crazy. You know what? There's so many different market segments that are performing like at a different rate right now. It's just like you need to be an expert right now in whatever it is that you're doing to really get the big picture, because builders aren't buying right now who want to be developing. I mean, the permit offices are closed. They're skeptical. They learned their lesson back in 2017, so they don't want to do these little infill lots and stuff like that. They're all holding off. Condos are starting to have a huge increase in inventory right now. We're seeing like 20% increase in inventory every 2 weeks. Like it was pretty drastic from
Is
the June
that
15th.
that's new condo or
No, just
resale?
condo resale. Some of them could be brand new, but they're just coming onto the market. So the inventory. So I think the numbers I looked at was on June 10th, and so it was 10 days, and the number of active listings had risen, quite a fair bit. It was close to 20%. So we're seeing obviously some Airbnb inventory coming to the market. We're seeing newly closed condos. There's a couple of them. You got people who are just trying to get out of the city because they're tired of living in a condo. So that's one segment. In the high end luxury market right now, it's booming, booming. Quiet last year, nothing was happening in all the areas, whatever the luxury price point is in different parts
Housing?
of Toronto and housing. Yeah, nothing was moving. Condos were doing all right, luxury last year, but the housing market was really, really quiet. And it is on fire right now because
Really?
people want bigger houses, they want pools, they want out of the condos. A lot of people in those price ranges haven't been affected by the economic crisis. They're a little bit harder to hit. So great, you've got Oakville prices up there nearly 10%. I'm not an Oakville expert, but
No,
for
but
sure,
Oakville's
Oakville's got a lot
expensive
of luxury.
houses, right?
Yeah, a lot of
Luxury.
luxury properties. Yeah, and that's definitely what I'm seeing too. I'm seeing that too through the center core of Toronto, all the way up to North York, and even in some of the other areas, east and west in Toronto. So, I mean,
But it's is
what does
it
that mean?
but extra inventory coming on the market right now is being met with enough demand for that inventory, right? It's not
Abs-
throwing off
abs-
any balance.
Absolutely. And I think what it is that's keeping it that way is people still don't want people in their house. It's easy for me as a buyer to say, I'm going to go into someone's house, I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to wear my gloves, I'm not going to touch anything, and I feel safe, right? We've kind of got a little bit more comfortable with that. But all the sellers that I'm talking to right now are all very nervous. People are going to be coming into my house. Are they going to touch anything? Are they sick? Are they going to wear masks? There's a
L-
lot of fear.
Yeah,
So
look at
not
the
as many
article.
coming on. 4 in 10 Ontarians would consider buying a home virtually. Yeah, consider. That's good. Yeah. I
Consider.
I'd consider, flying a plane over the Atlantic. I might not do it, but I'd consider it, right? So
But then in the same breath, in-person home tours in Toronto up 95% in May compared to April. But that could be like 95 home tours.
no, no, no. Actually, we're back to pre-COVID numbers according to our um, showing database. It's called Broker Bay, and they've got a lot of different agents. I can't remember how many it is, but it's tens of thousands of agents that are in this system. So they're able to track everybody's listings to see the showings, and showings in many areas are back to pre-COVID-19 numbers. Showings. That's good. That's
But
good.
we saw sales and inventory come down in tandem, right? Now we're
Yep.
seeing, I guess, inventory and sales still working in tandem, just at a
That's
different
what I'm
night,
seeing.
right?
Yep, that's what I'm seeing. So we're having a slight increase in inventory, yeah, but it is minimal, and we're starting to see an increase in sales. It'll be interesting to see what the Toronto Real Estate Board does. What they've been doing lately is they've been really, they've been acting quicker to release their market watch. They've been coming up with a few different type of outlooks and a few different stats. They had that mid-March release of the numbers. They had a mid-April, so we'll see what happens. Maybe
Sure,
they're going
they
to do
did the
something mid.
mid-March one to show how affected the market was only by this, that it wasn't a fundamental market issue, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, maybe
Which is
we're
in
going to get
the
something in
agents,
June.
but no, it'll be booming in June. It'll be booming.
That's what we're seeing
And
right now.
everything's going to focus on that boom. And
Yeah.
it's so segmented, right? It's
Yeah.
so compartmentalized now. Like retail's getting fucking hammered,
Yeah.
but warehousing is like booming. Like logistics and warehousing is booming. Housing, people will buy if there's inventory to buy, right?
Yeah.
If the
People need a place to live. This is it. You need a place to live. You need a home. You need a roof, and either you're paying your own mortgage or you're paying somebody else's. That's never going to change.
no,
It's never going to change. And we have the fastest growing city in all of North America, right? So when we've got that much, new immigration population, the net immigration from people coming into the city from other parts of the world, and obviously people leaving the city and things changing, the people who are coming here need a place to live.
So we're both talking about the article that's up right now. There was actually two of them. Toronto is now the fastest growing city in North America. Fastest growing city in metro area in the US and Canada. And this is a very opportune time for this article to come out. The only issue I have with this article, and this is wonderful news for us living in Toronto, but it's based on 2019 statistics. And
Yeah.
right now, this is a very different planet. So, like, it's a weird time to come out with an article saying that we're the fastest growing city in North America, but like the whole world's got its brakes on right now and everything's upside down and fucked up. But the Toronto real estate market is suddenly on fire again, and we are, seeing an uptick in prices, and we are the fastest growing city in North America.
So let's analyze that. Who did the study? Ryerson.
Well, sure, but it's all backed by
Ryerson.
like urban research and land development, right?
Of course. But Ryerson did the study. What is Ryerson up to? Do you think Ryerson's got any interest in people having confidence in their downtown sites as well as any future development that they're doing on their sites? Of course.
They're one of the biggest developers in the city.
Of course. So they've got their own agenda to be able to release this. That doesn't change the fact that it's true. Like let's look at it that way. But
No, it's fine that it's true.
Things do take time, and people are obviously going to have their own perspective on it. And I mean, hey, I've known this for a long time that we are one of the fastest growing places in North America. I didn't need an article to tell me.
But let's not forget that every single person that's writing these articles or every company that's putting these articles out also has a vested interest in this machine continuing along.
Of course, right? Of course. This is why the media works, because
but it's fantastic, because this is great news for us that they're starting to put this kind of a positive spin on things, because this is what happens. I mean, when fundamentals are fine, all people are doing are following the news. Like, look at the stock market. It's like
crazy.
What's going on with this thing?
I know, I know,
But
I
that's
know.
what the housing market's going to start to do, and it's not going to be a real estate market. It's going to be a low-rise residential market, a high-rise residential market, an office market, a retail
Yeah,
market, a logistics market. Like it's going to be all segmented because there's so many world factors pulling at this like worldwide city. Like we're an international financial hub city, right? You
hmm
got all these factors pulling at us that like keep us in this wonderful bubble. I think that we get to stay in for at least real estate and economy. Like, okay, so Canada's prices are going to go down 18%. Toronto's are going to go up 7.
yeah, and that's suspicious too, CMHC. But let's talk about
That's on the
Toronto.
list. That's on the list.
Okay, but let's talk about Toronto specifically. One thing that does not exist in any other city in the world is the demand for home ownership that Toronto has. Every other city in the world, major city, renting is perfectly acceptable. Here we almost kind of look down on it. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah,
just renting, like you don't own yet. Like
sure.
there is a little undertone when people are talking about rental. And
Sure.
so when you have this huge demand constantly that people within society have got ingrained in them that they need to own. That should be the goal. I need to get the job. I need to get the credit. I need to get the down payment. I need to own. That's the goal. You cannot take that away. The only way that you ever slow down the Toronto real estate market is by taking away people's ability to purchase, right? You have to
Well,
take away
and
their
even
ability.
when you take away their ability to purchase, there's still tons of people that have the ability to purchase for cash and rent it to you, and people want to live here. It's I'm telling you, it's the what they call it the Manhattanization of Toronto. We're
Mhm.
following a very similar trajectory. I mean, we're like probably 50, 60 years behind
20
them.
20 to 30 years
You
behind.
think it's 20, 30 years?
I think so. But either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, fine.
The main thing is this: interest rates are low, right? People are still able to qualify. Canada's banking system is still intact. The banks are willing to lend. There's stricter guidelines, but they're willing to lend. A lot of Canadians have stable income. There's the job losses are much less than they're more temporary than they are permanent. So there's a lot of people who are going to still be able to go back to work and everything else once all the different bans are over. So we're talking about the ability to purchase a property is still there. People still have the ability to get lending and financing in whatever it is that they need, and they can go and buy the property that they want. And if you can't buy the condo you want or the house you want, then you just make a concession, right? If I can't go downtown, I'm going to go uptown. If I can't get in
Yeah,
the
but no,
city, I'm
now
going to go out of the.
you have to somehow be able to guarantee that your employment's going to stay.
Definitely, lending has gotten so. I've
Like
had a
if
few
you're in
deals
the
that are.
entertainment or food industry,
Yeah, you're not on a
travel,
mortgage
tourism, like
application.
you're not getting a mortgage.
Yeah, you're not on a mortgage application right now. So there's a hit. But again, we talked about this already. The sales and the amount of people that are coming out of the market because of that, the same amount of people are not putting their houses on the market,
Well, and then so
right?
today I read something, and I didn't pull it for this, but today I read that in immigration into Toronto is going to go from like 100,000, which I think is already a low number, but that's what the article said, 100,000 people
Yep.
this year to 65,000 or 60,000. And I'm sitting there going, well, hang on a sec. Even in our best years, we were only able to produce like 36 or 45,000 units. And we're already behind by like, I don't even know how many units. So
Yeah.
even if immigration gets slashed by 40%,
hmm
we still have too many people coming in that need to live somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
We also don't know what's going to happen with immigration. Like, there's no shortage of people lining up to get into Canada.
No,
So
they're all
right now,
filling up. They're all filling out applications now. They're all just sitting on them right now.
exactly. So
They're
they're
just
all waiting.
piling
So
up.
So the government in the beginning of the year was proposing, 1 million people over the next 3 years, roughly. And so who's to say that, because I think we're going to be down about 170,000 this year. That's the predictions. So if we've got 170,000 less here, who's to say that they're just not going to spread out that 170,000 that we missed out on over the next 2 years, right? Like, who's to say
Sure.
that they're still not going to hit that million person target over 3 years,
And that
right?
million number is such a load of horseshit. I don't know how they come up with it. Just like there was going to be 100,000 deaths from COVID in Toronto.
Yeah, well, that's what the
Their models are all bullshit. But there's going to be a ton of people, like constantly over 100,000 people come into Toronto every single year.
yeah, I was talking about Canada. I think 42% of new Canadians are landing in the GTA.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
who
pretty
cares
crazy.
about Canada? I'm telling you, we're like an island within the country. We have nothing to do with this country. Nothing matters to Toronto. It's like we're literally living in a shielded bubble.
Yeah, we don't have the same resources that the West has,
Things just
or the
stall
East.
us. Things from
Yeah,
the States just keep fucking us up because we're so tied into these other economies. If we
yeah,
would keep all this oil and wheat and like everything, gold, like if we would keep all those resources just in Canada, stop
hmm
sending it out, holy cow, what an economy we would have.
yeah. I don't know. Like, let's focus on the real estate stuff. But I
Sure.
agree with you. There's lots of stuff that we can get improved here. So we talked about retail, and I think the article about the commercial rent assistance is something to talk about, because what we were seeing in April, like I was talking to a lot of small business owners in March, April, May, when they announced the commercial rent assistance. Everybody right away sent a letter or an email or a phone call to their landlord and said, "Hey, I want this." And every single
Yeah,
landlord
get on this now.
was just like, "What are you talking about? Where's my rent?" Right? And I think one of the biggest issues is that the program wasn't actually launched until the end of May, so people couldn't even start filling out applications. So we're only a couple weeks in.
And it's a
You've got
horrible program. Like, who does
we've
it
got
benefit?
No, it's a great program. It's something that is going to help out a lot. It just there's a lot of stuff. There's got to be certain applications filled out by the tenant and attestments, as well as the landlord, and they have to go through the process and everything else too. But the big landlords, according to the article, seem to be responding well. I mean, when you have the Recipe Unlimited guy,
Only one big
no,
landlord
Rio
responded.
RioCan and First Capital. So
Okay, those are two pretty
yeah,
big
so
ones.
Yeah, so that's a really good sign. And if Smart Centers and everybody else comes on board, it seems like the wording from the First Capital guy was that it was their obligation to do so. So Recipe said something along
Yeah.
16% of their landlords had been willing to complete the application, but it was still really new. So what I am expecting now over the month of June is to start seeing more of these applications get processed, more landlords, especially the bigger ones, realizing that the people who are in their units right now need some assistance in order to be able to continue the long-term growth of their business, in order for those investors that these big, huge REITs have, in order to make those numbers work. Because
Yeah, but how do
if they
these
don't,
businesses stay in business until these applications get processed and approved and funded? And then they
well,
have to flow
right now,
through.
commercial landlords can't evict anybody until August 31st, so it's going to be okay. And they can do everything retroactively. So they can say, all right, you owe us this much money, but the program's kicked in this much. You owe us 25% from here, and hit into arrears. They can make some arrangements.
And
But
so how
the
does
main
this loan work? Who they're loaning the money to the landlord and then
so
just forgiving it?
after the government gives out a 50% not forgivable loan, right? They collect 25% from the tenant, and once the landlord, I guess, would sign something that says they would be relieving the tenant of the 25%, the government releases the loan, or the loan then becomes um,
Oh, it's
non
forgivable once you
forgivable. That's the word I was looking for.
once you no, but it's forgivable once you do what you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
which is
exactly. So the
like
main thing is this: 25% rent is a lot better than 100% rent. There are people who've already got under. Maybe those guys were already on the sidelines before, and they were starting to get behind, and their businesses may not come back. There's a lot of those stories. I'm not saying there's not, but there sure is a lot of people who have been trying to stay open, who were essential, who could really use the help, because their numbers that I've been talking to is Some of them are doing really well, but some of them are about 50%.
So what
So their sales are at
percentage
50.
of the landlords are Mr. and Mrs. Smith versus, First Capitals and Brookfields and companies?
Well, it depends on what area you're looking at, I
But there's a
guess,
lot of people
right?
that are going to have to apply for this thing. Like a lot of people quickly.
CMHC, the one who's funding it all, again, the people who are releasing the articles that the market's going to crash, right? They're the ones who are footing the bill, right? So at the end of the day, where this money's coming from is the government's going to be, having savings bonds sold off to foreign parties and other investors, and so that they want to have the
So, but what with the
support
business owner?
of
What
the
what is
public.
he saying to his suppliers and everybody that he owes money to? Like, hang on, I think I'm going to get my landlord to put in this application and get this money. Like, hang on, hang on. Don't
In
put me
some
out of
cases,
business.
in some cases, yes. I mean, everybody's really rallying behind each other, and maybe a month ago
This
it was a little
article's
bit
talking
different.
about how people are saying like, I want my money. Fuck
I
this
know a month
25% off shit.
a month ago that was the case, but we're starting to see a little bit different changes now.
When is
So
this
we're
thing
gonna
dated?
we're gonna see at the end of June exactly how many of these applications they'll release the numbers, and so we'll know exactly how many applications are actually being filled out for people to people get the assistance that they need. I mean, the good news is there's positive um, stances coming from the big landlords, and guys will follow suit. Nobody wants to be the landlord that wasn't willing to save the businesses when this is all said and done. The media backlash that people are capable of today in the social media world and stuff like that is ruthless. So I think we're gonna. I have a much more positive stance after reading this article than I did a few weeks ago. That's for sure.
I gotta think that there's a lot of landlords out there going, ooh, like I can evict them and get so much more for this
You can't
space right now.
you can evict. Rents are probably going to go down.
But what if they
Um,
already evicted somebody?
that's the one that I was thinking about because they were talking about the guy there with the axe throwing. So it did say June 3rd to August 31st. There are no evictions. So I don't think the
So
government
prior
has
to,
got
you can be
control.
evicted?
If you have been evicted already, I don't think the government has any ability to step in. So that maybe the rent assistance can kick in and the landlord can renegotiate with the tenant. But the main thing is June 3rd to August 31st, there are no evictions in the province of Ontario now, which is good news for people. It's very good news.
We,
Now
we need an expert.
let's talk about the real estate market, how that will be affected,
Well,
right?
so, but you want to talk about CMHC and the
Yeah, I
opposition to
mean,
it by
yeah.
Genworth?
So again, CMHC, they've got obviously their own agenda with a lot of different stuff. They're taking on a lot of programs. They are a government mortgage insurance company, so they've got to answer to taxpayers and everything else. So the main thing is, they've got their own view of the market based on their data. It is nationwide. It's not backed up by any more than a crystal ball. So we'll see exactly what happens there. But the reason that they were tightening their restrictions is to ensure that we all understand their stance on the market and that they are trying to curb the borrowing and everything else too. So the main thing is it affects the market in no way, shape, or form. We still have other mortgage insurance providers that people can go to, so there's not going to be something like a major fallout in people's ability to be able to qualify. There'd be a very small percentage of any mortgages that were high ratio that would no longer be able to obtain any type of financing whatsoever.
I love
And that
that Genworth comes out and says, they're crazy. We're going to keep
Gen,
things just how they were.
Yeah, Genworth is like, come to us first.
Yeah.
They CMHC says no, we say yes.
No,
You know,
it's basically saying that, like, they're smart enough to, you know, judge whether people are worth taking the risk on. Like, that's their business, is risk assessment, basically.
they do. the same
right?
thing.
This is
Yeah.
exactly what they do. They have crazy algorithms and all kinds of data points that decide whether or not you're worthy of borrowing from them.
Yep.
And they're basically just, taking a bigger slice of the pie, like instantly. Because who the fuck is going to go to CMHC with all these tighter restrictions when you have Genworth who does the exact same thing? Like from the consumer perspective, it's no different. What does the consumer care
There's
that it's
now
backed by the government?
there's certain products that CMHC will insure and that Genworth won't,
Like
and
what?
vice versa. I don't know. I'm not a mortgage specialist, but the main thing is that you have to look at it which products are going to be insured or not. So again, there's a very small percentage of deals that were not going to happen, and that the banks were offering before that are only through CMHC and that have to meet the new guidelines. But for the most part, you're going to have a ton of people still qualifying with Genworth or Canada Guarantee. So that's not really something that we're too concerned about.
And you know what? The reality is like you have somebody who wants to buy, right? If they're not
Mhm.
able to buy anymore because policy or restrictions or whatever, like they're still in the real estate market. They still have to rent something, right? So they
Yes,
just they just go
they
from
feed
one side to the other.
another
So who
area.
gives a
Yeah,
shit, right?
we need to have some sort of sustainability in the rental market too. We've had 3 consecutive months of decline in average prices. Okay,
I
rental
love,
prices.
yeah, take a look to your right.
Oh, yes, good timing, Daryl.
Isn't that great?
Um, yeah. So I mean, obviously oversupply. Then you've got some things like COVID-19 and stuff like that too. A lot of people weren't deciding to make a move during that time. So there's a lot of factors here. I'd really like to see sort of like the long-term trend over the next 3 to 6 months. But either way, that's what the numbers are. And we're looking at a lot of Airbnb people who were trying to rent out short-term before have taken a huge hit, not just because Airbnbs were banned, not just because people are concerned about staying places and stuff like that too. But the hospitality and travel industry has been obliterated. So
Obliterated.
who's coming to the city to stay in the Airbnbs? Like when I travel throughout the states, I stay in Airbnbs all the time. That's what I do, and that's what people do when they come here to Toronto. So if nobody's coming, like if you're earning sorry $6,000+ a month on your condo because you were renting it out and you had a great spot and everything
Forget
else.
about that you're earning. You have to earn $6,000
Some
a
of them,
month
yeah,
to pay
some of
the
them, the bigger ones,
mortgage.
yeah, some of them. So what do you
Downtown, a
do when
million
that
dollars.
when that income is gone, right? Like you can't carry it. You have no choice but to go into a long-term rental. So that increases the amount of long-term rentals that are available.
And
Or
it shortens your amount of income
if
or
that's not going to
lowers, right?
yeah, if that's not going to cover
It's not going to
your
cover it.
expenses, then you've got to put it on the market. That's why we've seen an increase in the inventory in the condo market, unfortunately. So
No, it's
we'll see
great
what happens.
though.
For condo prices,
No, it's
for
going to
condo
get
buyers.
absorbed really quickly and then just go right back to where things were. It's all just going to get absorbed really quickly. Even these declines in rent, they're
Yeah.
declining because nobody's moving around right now. But as soon as people
Hmm.
start moving around right now and people start coming back in, those will creep back to where they were and go past it because you don't go from absolute housing rental crisis, right?
Hmm.
And not doing anything to deal with that. Like what have they done? They've released some land for future development, right? And they've opened up maybe some new units or some I don't even know what they've done. They've done fuck all. They've approved like 4,000 new apartments. So like all this stuff that's going to go long term is going to get absorbed once people start moving around in a second. And all of a sudden,
Okay.
people are going to
If
start going, hold on a sec. The price was $2,300. Like, tell me honestly, who, when the rent goes down, okay, month to month by 4.7% or 7%, when it makes a $80 a month adjustment, how many people does that really like put out of the market on that product? When it makes $150 a month, like, does that really affect that many people? What's 100? It's $1,200 a year.
I think the main thing is this. If the supply of rental increases, prices will continue to fall. If the inventory in the condo market continues to outpace the sales at what we're seeing right now, then the condo market has got some potential issues as far as pricing goes.
But
The main
imagine
thing,
the short term. Imagine what the short term looks like if we were to catch up supply and demand in this market. How crazy the sales would be in the next, like, what?
I
To
agree.
catch
I
up.
agree. I'm not saying that it's
Where's
not
the
possible.
scenario where we don't go like ping again? Crazy.
There is a scenario if the government continues to provide all the financial aid that they are, if they increase the CERB, if they extend mortgage deferrals, if they have a huge participation rate in the commercial rent assistance program for the small business owners who also own homes and condos.
That's going to squash the market?
No, that's gonna continue to propel the market the way
All
that
of
we were
this.
seeing in the first three
With
months.
or without
Again,
it?
if the government says we're done, we're not giving any more support, you're on your own. If you're in trouble, guess what? You need to be selling. You need to be getting out of whatever it is you're doing. Then we could see a flood of inventory. We could see a ton of new properties come up for sale. We might see a huge chunk of the market no longer have the ability to buy because they've lost their job or they don't qualify anymore, and then we could have a negative downturn on the market. I'm not saying either scenario is more likely than the other or anything else, but I'm just telling you guys that there is definitely a chance that the success of our housing market is hinging on the ability and the willingness of the government to be able to provide the financial aid.
So,
That's the truth.
so hold on a sec. So it, I don't even think we have a 10% swing in unemployment from before till now. But let's just say a 10% swing. 10% of however the stats work, because they don't work normal. Like, here's the amount of people that could work and want to work, and here's the amount of people that work. There's all kinds
Okay.
of crazy ways that they figure it out. But
Yep.
if 10%, like, how much does that change the market when
So if
10%
10%,
leave
if
the market temporarily?
but you have to think about it. It's a double. There's a double effect here. If 10% more buyers are no longer able to qualify because of unemployment, whatever it is, and 10% of the population no longer has the income to support to the property that they currently own,
They're
we're
not
gonna
the
have
same
we're
10%.
gonna have a 20% swing in supply and demand,
But aren't
which
they
will
the same 10?
no,
Why? So there's
because
10% on top of the 10% that can't afford
with
it.
10% less buyers, there's 10% more sellers. Right? So now all of a sudden, people are getting out of the housing market because they need to sell, and we've got less buyers. Then we're going to have a swing, and we'll be in a buyer's market, and that happens again. Unemployment balances out those same amount of buyers. Immigration comes in. We've got government assistance protecting people. The mortgage deferrals are extended. We've got all these people who are able to keep their homes and not forced to sell, because at the end of the day, in order for prices to go down, people need to be willing to sell for less than their neighbors did.
Sure. Need to,
That's
not
what
willing. Need to.
need to, but
I mean, you
that's
end
what
up being willing, but you have to
that's
need to sell. You
what I'm
can't
trying
just
to
be
say.
like, oh,
So you
this is a
you
lovely
can't
time to
just say, well,
sell.
prices are going to go down, and I'm going to go around bullying everybody into selling. No, when they list their property and they say, it's time for me to go because of these set of circumstances. Because remember, not everybody will be in the same stance where they have to sell, right? Some people will be just wanting to sell. They got to move. They got to leave. They got to, they got too big of a house, too small of a house, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They would also have to be willing to sell for less than their neighbors did in order for the market to come down. So lot of scenarios, a lot of question marks. There's the big forecasters are always out there. I think CMHC is,
So, but even if
very
the
there.
economy contracts by 3%, Canada's economy contracts by 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's still a pretty good year, no? In Toronto?
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Yeah, it's like
We'll be okay. The
3%.
doomsdayers have it at a much
I don't get it. I
greater.
read these stats and I go, it's still gonna be a pretty good year for some people, most
Yeah.
people,
Like I said,
90% of the
what we're
people.
seeing what we're seeing in the luxury market right now is that the people with money
Who are the buyers?
are buying.
From inside the province?
Well, nobody's allowed from outside of the province, so
So
yes,
all these are just local people moving around from one place to the other. So
there's a
effectively
huge
two deals.
Yeah, there's a huge increase in people looking for pools right now. That's
Look how
like
you squeezed that in. Okay, yeah, the
I'm telling
TK
you,
theory.
every listing I'm looking at, I see this crazy stack because I'm comparing it to other properties that I'm selling or whatever it is, and then
Da-na-na, the TK theory.
I see they have a pool, and I'm like, you can't get a pool right now. You can't get an above ground pool. You can't get an in ground pool. You can't get a wading pool.
You can't
You
get an
you,
above ground
you can't
pool.
get a pool. There's just no
I
pools
can't
left.
even get. I can't even get. We have an above ground pool, and we needed. My son threw the chlorine dispenser. You know that floaty bobby thing, looks like a
Good luck.
mushroom. Threw it,
Yeah,
broke it. I ordered
yeah,
one from Amazon, and they
yeah.
sent me one like industrial size, like this. And in the ad it says like 20 centimeters or something like that. It was supposed to be normal, but that's all they had.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we figured you were better with one than without
If
one.
you can't get a pool installed and you have the money, what are your options?
You gotta buy a house with a pool
Go and buy a house with a pool.
or a condo with a pool.
Condo pools are closed right now. The
Condo
amenities are all
pools are
closed.
closed. Oh
Yep.
no.
Public swimming pools are closed.
Oh, this is a great time. I should sell my pool. I'll make fucking 10 grand off this above ground pool right now.
You can get 10 grand for that above. I bet you any money you could put it
No.
out there. So, anyways, the main thing is this: if you got a pool right now and you've been thinking about selling, now's the time to call your agent and say, "Let's get this sucker on the market," because I'm seeing a considerable amount of money being paid for homes
I'm
with a.
I'm gonna put a link to a Kijiji ad in the description of this video for my pool. $10,000 Canadian.
Assemble it yourself.
You have to take it apart and assemble it yourself and dig a hole.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's a
pools
lot.
are big. That makes sense. But like,
We got a lot of things. So okay, I'll give you a few more of them. Home offices.
sure.
Okay. If you've been doing if you've been trying to work from home with your kids running around the house because you're in an open concept, whatever, you understand and appreciate the home office more
Sure.
than anybody else.
Are
So
there
that's
still areas in Toronto that don't have like super high speed internet connections?
no, not in Toronto. Everything is
Everyone has either
broadband.
fiber,
Yeah,
whatever, Ignite.
yeah, yeah. What do they call that? Fiber optics and
So does school area make a difference right now?
of course. I mean, school has always been I'd say a huge part of every single parent's decision when they're buying. There's some communities in Toronto where the only reason that the prices are the way they are is because of how great the schools are. So that's always going to be something that's never going to change. And I don't think schools are going online or virtual or anything like that. Parents will make sure that they're sending their kids shrink wrapped if they have to, because nobody's going to be taking care of their kids at home, permanently. That's not going to happen.
Well, you know,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that there's going to be always a demand for people to be in the right school neighborhood. Kids are our pride and joy, right? So, um, yeah, top priority for some people. Top. They'll only look in an area that has the school they want, and then they'll find the best house that they can afford in that neighborhood. Plenty of plenty of people will rent in an area instead of buying because they can't afford it. That's common. Right. So again, the home office is one. School is always there, but I'm talking about COVID trends, right? The COVID trends, and then space. That's the biggest one. That's why we're seeing this luxury market, because if you got 4 kids and you were living in a 3-bedroom bungalow before, maybe it was manageable because you were at work, your wife was at work, the kids were at school, things were happening. There's only a couple hours a day where actually everybody would be home that wasn't sleeping, and you would be faced to deal with the limited space. But now that you've been home so much, and now that you can see, like, man, this is not manageable. And if this lasts longer, if this ever happens again, it's just never an idea that we ever had where that we forced in our houses, that we'd have to stay home and we weren't able to leave. So because of this pandemic, we're in larger homes coming back into demand. People were actually trending away from larger homes for a while. Keep
Even if
costs
they
down.
could afford them?
Families were smaller. I mean, there's always people looking for them, but the modern family, the millennials and people like that, not to label a generation in this way, but there is definitely younger people who were smaller homes instead of the homes that they grew up in, because they didn't feel they needed that formal living room with the French doors. They didn't need the extra space like maybe the house that they grew up in. So they were gearing towards location. They were gearing towards transit. They were looking at stuff like that as a priority as opposed to space. So we're seeing just a shift back into people saying, well, look, I don't mind if I'm not close to work because I'm going to get a bigger house out in the suburbs or further away from the city because I'm only going to work once a week when this is all done anyways.
So you're talking about the person living at Avenue and Lawrence or Yonge and Lawrence or somewhere in like a 20-footer that has money. It's a nice property. It's a nice place to live. But they're like, this place is just way too tight. We can afford it. Let's go to Thornhill or whatever the hell.
That's a great example of the people who are moving right now.
Because the person that's living in a piece of shit bungalow, like, he's not doing that. Even if his bungalow is like worth 1.4 million because he lives in a good area. Like, there's some people that just have this great property, but they have no money.
Sure. And people, if they can't afford it, they're not going to do it. But you have to, I think everyone underestimates how much money is actually in Toronto and how sort of fiscally responsible some people really are. And they've got no mortgage. They've had no, debt that they didn't need to carry. They've got, basically their minimum needs, especially people if they're coming from, other parts of the world where, Canadian standards are a little bit different. So now they're saying, well, look, I can afford this. I can get a mortgage. I can have anything that I really want here. And it wasn't so important to me 6 months ago, but now having that extra bedroom, that extra washroom, that main floor office, that
big yard,
pool, bigger square footage, whatever it is, would really be nice right now. So why am I torturing myself and staying in this property just to avoid debt or just to keep my money? Also,
or
if you have money,
I live here.
Stock market, take it out of the stock market because, like you said, it's going all over the place. Take it out of the stock market and put it into real estate, something that is more stable, that you can touch and feel, that you feel confident in, and that's what Toronto people have, is they have confidence in the real estate market long term. We know it goes up and down. We know there's issues, but long term, Toronto real estate market performs. It is secure. It is safe. Put your money in and wait. So
there's like a very educated market. Like, it seems like it's hard to have a conversation with anybody in Toronto that doesn't somehow segue into the real estate market.
Right.
It's like it's a thing. It's like a serious thing. It's like the It's like, did you watch this show? Like, people talk about the real estate. Yeah, no, seriously.
Game of Thrones. If you didn't know about Game of Thrones,
can you believe these prices? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, can you believe what they're building? Oh my! It's actually amazing. There's some crazy shit going on in the city too with building.
Yeah, what's going on? You're my land developer contact, so you tell me what's going on in the city.
I don't know. This came up. I love this deal. This is such a crazy deal. This is the CN rail deck, the rights above the CN rail deck from like Bathurst to Spadina downtown. Okay. So basically over and above the railroad tracks down at Front Street. So this has been in dispute for like 3, 4, 5 years maybe as to who owns this. Okay, so there's been a development application put in by a company under the name of Orca, so like gigantic whale, because this deal is such a gigantic deal. It's crazy. Yeah. But so the city thinks that they own it, and this company Orca, which is made up of a few different developers in the city, they seem to think that they bought it off of Metrolinx like 10 years ago or something like that. So the city and this company together are like putting in applications while sorting out who owns a thing. And so the
Yeah.
idea is to build this crazy concrete deck
Hmm.
above the railroad tracks and then build all of these buildings on top of that.
Wow. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
And
I
so
feel like the airspace thing is kind of like New York, right? Like New York sells their airspace in order to be able to get bigger, taller buildings. Like that's how
New
they
York
keep
did
prices up
something
higher.
like this.
Yeah. So this sounds very New Yorkish. Like I said, 20, 30 years behind. That's all. We're getting there.
So these guys like hired this crazy architect, Safdie Architects, who's like one of the world renowned architects to work on this thing. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of friggin' squares and rectangles.
Yeah.
Um, but like to help push it through, and then they're offering to make a bunch of parkland, which downtown needs desperately, as a
Hmm.
negotiation tool. Like these guys can't lose. I don't even know what they paid for this thing. Probably like nothing.
Yeah. The
3,500 units.
things like this is what the core is going to need, right? I mean, they need creativity. The United Building at University and
No, they don't
Dundas.
need anything. Listen, this is insanity, first of all. I mean, the city wants to just make it a big park, which it really actually should. And, like, let's not forget, I'm a developer. I'm so pro development, it's crazy. But we have the Portlands that is like bigger than downtown Toronto,
Hmm.
right beside downtown Toronto,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, give these guys a gigantic plot of land over there and say, hey, build us some stuff over there. We need it. It's on the waterfront. It's like way better land. It will make for a much better Toronto than covering the railroad tracks. I mean, this is cool too, but we need parks. There's no parks anywhere.
Hmm.
Look at all these poor fucking people right now. Where they go? My parents live in a condominium and it's like a huge complex with three big buildings. They all share
Yeah.
this underground and they share this communal park in the middle and like tennis courts and everything. It's really beautiful. But
Yeah.
they close the park. These old people, they can't walk around.
They
The
closed
kids,
the park as well.
they close the park and nobody, except for the first floor, which actually my parents are lucky enough to live on, there's no balconies in this building. So
Yeah.
like kids are literally like poking their head against the window, like the screen, like to like feel like they're outside. Because unless you're like allowed to go somewhere, have somewhere to go, you can't even go in the park inside the complex.
Yeah, I've been in obviously, so many condos over the last few months, and I've seen a few that are like they seem normal. Like it just seems like okay, this is like a regular day. But I've been in a few that it's just like, oh my gosh, this just seems like The Walking Dead or something. People are just pacing up and down the hallway, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
I don't understand what's going on. Like I've been out 3 times now. Actually, no, I went out yesterday to put my dad fell and he broke his hip and he had a hip replacement surgery. And so he
Ouch.
came home and I had to put a new toilet seat on for him, right? So
Hmm.
I've been out 4 times including that, which is just going to my parents' place, which I don't know if that counts. Like I've been in public 3 times. And it's crazy. Like I look around and people seem to be like business as usual ish.
Yeah.
Like there's
It,
cars everywhere, there's people everywhere. A lot of them have masks on. A lot of them, I don't understand, they don't have masks on. But like people are buzzing around, man. I Toronto real estate is like peaking again, apparently.
yep. People are getting into houses. People
So,
are doing what they need to do,
so, but
going shopping.
I ask myself as I'm like driving around, like, so, and then I read stuff like Toronto real estate's hot again. Like, was there a point where it wasn't? Like, even though sales dropped, like, it was still a good real estate market.
No, I definitely
There's
would
cities in the
disagree.
US and in
April,
Canada. There's
in
cities in
April,
the US and Canada that would die to have the numbers we had in Toronto.
of course. So you're right. There's definitely in comparison, but we're always looking at it, based on what it was like first 2 weeks of March. It slowed down significantly. So we're just starting to see this, increase again
I think it's a
in
godsend.
sales numbers and everything else. Buyers coming out now, beginning of June. I think it started about the last week of May. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of properties that were on the market 40, 50, 60 days, something like that, and they were listed. So during the whole COVID-19, all of a sudden now they're getting sold, and they're getting
Yeah,
sold
because
pretty
people are
quick
going
fast.
out again. They've relaxed their, released the reins a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like you can see it. Like we went out just for a walk yesterday, and there's like a kid riding a bike by himself with like a Tim Hortons cup. So like
Hmm.
that kid's parents let him go out by himself, no mask. Went to Tim Hortons, gave him money. He's touching money. He's like with
I was
people.
in my first Tim Hortons actually the other day. I was downtown on Friday, and there's lineups at every store. But Tim Hortons wasn't bad. The one that I went to, it was near the lakeshore. But like everything else, like up and down Queen Street, like Shoppers Drug Mart, line up down the block.
Why?
Every
Because
store,
of social
line,
distancing, it's like
yeah,
lineups,
line up down the block, just on all the major stuff, the
and people
essential
are
stuff.
waiting.
The retail stores were open. Stores were open. It was easy for me to get to where I had to go. There was no lineup. I just went in there. Actually, I was trying on sunglasses, and so they were saying virtual try. I was like, can I like try them on like for real? And they're like, yeah, just take this bin, try on the glasses, put every pair that you tried on into this bin, and then give it back to us so that they can, I guess, clean them. Right. So
Sanitize them.
I didn't
So hold
try on
on,
like.
you didn't sanitize them before you put them on?
That's what they said. No, they
No,
said they're
did
already
you?
sanitized.
And you just believed them. You were just like, yeah, okay, like this guy
I
making
do. I
$14 an hour.
I trusted the process. Yeah, I wasn't
I don't even,
overthinking.
yeah, see, I don't trust them. Like, I will never go on a ride at the CNE.
When again, or you haven't?
No, like one day I got this picture in my head of this like immigrant guy making no money, getting fucked by the park, putting up this like ride that goes up and down every year, and just like not tightening things so much because he's smoking a joint and he's like not
Yeah.
giving a fuck, right?
No, no, no. I love the CNA, and I go on. There is one ride that I will not go on ever again,
Like
and
I've
that's
built
the one.
houses. I've seen the inspector come and just go like, "Hey guys, I'm here. All right, thanks."
I know, I know. But no,
So who's
I trust the
inspecting the
CNA. But the one
CNE's?
ride is the swing where the chains go all the way out, and it's rotating around, and it's way up in the
Yeah,
sky.
fuck that.
my my son, who was I guess 7 at the time, he was laughing and having the time of his life, and I was dying. And I said,
No,
never again.
no,
So
forget it.
never. But the
But like,
CNE's closed.
especially that.
I think Wonderland's open though. I heard.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Oh,
I
so
think
Wonderland's not
Disney
open yet.
is opening again.
Yeah, I think or Wonderland's preparing to open or something. So we'll see what happens.
Oh my God, it's like one thing after another. Like I gotta deal with, like, so baseball gets canceled for my son,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they call us back and say, well, we might play some exhibition games and do some practices. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife, my son's like, oh great, I get to go play baseball. And I'm like, oh cool, get to watch him play baseball. My wife's like, how, like, is the virus gone? Like, all these kids are gonna go play baseball. The parents are gonna go watch them. All the coaches are gonna go. Half of those people or more are going to work still. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
is this thing gonna stop?
I'm in stage 2 of reopening, so I'm all about it. If they say that they're going to do it with some social distancing guidelines, I think that businesses and people need to be opening up and getting back out. So I'm all for it.
I'm totally
For
for
sure.
it too if it's
I'm going
safe.
camping in July, but I'm hoping that I get to go to a rib fest or something else. I'll do some
Is
cottaging.
this what
I'll have some
drives
other
you
stuff
now?
going on.
Rib fest and camping?
I'm going to. I've already booked the camping, but we'll
Where?
see. Algonquin, just like backcountry kind of stuff.
Oh no, like actually, like you have to set up a whole site and like
Yeah, that's what camping
you
is.
have
Yeah.
to poo in a hole.
You have the option. That's an option.
What's the other option?
Just on the ground, no hole at all.
Really, just there you go.
There's little outhouse type of things that they've got there. They actually each site has its own.
So we generally have gone camping every single year, although not that kind of camping, like Yogi
Mhm.
Bear camping,
Yep.
which is a lovely park. If they want to sponsor our show, that'd be great. Yogi Bear, Jellystone Park.
Hmm.
So, but we would go there every year, and we'd have campfires and tents, and they had a pool and showers. It was like perfect for us. And
Okay.
then by accident, we went to this other place in like Milton, And we went to get like they had like these little hut cottages, and we thought we were renting like this really nice kind of thing. And we got there, and it was disgusting. It was like, like just made out of wood and smelled like rain and people and sweat. It was disgusting. Anyway, so we upgraded to these cute little like cottages, and like I don't think I could ever go camping normally again. We went camping out in the woods basically, but we had beds and a shower and like a
Mm-hmm.
little kitchen
Mm-hmm.
and then a
I
fire
like
pit.
I like I like the outback.
No. See,
No
but you're
phones, no
going you're going to
technology.
like do stuff.
I do stuff.
I'm
That's
going
what I
to
do.
not do stuff.
I do stuff. I like to do stuff.
I like to not do stuff.
Beautiful. So we're
Sometimes I
gonna get a
like it.
guest on next Sunday or what?
Yeah, I have a few people that I have in mind.
Okay.
I think we should. I thought it might be interested to talk about deals that have fallen apart or that we're working on during this time or all the time. Have a
Okay.
little
Sure.
segment where we talk about what's going on
Sure.
in our real estate lives. We can say that for next week if we want.
Yeah. No
Um,
problem. Hey, this week we could have like a bomb dropped on the real estate market news or the Toronto news or COVID-19. Like this week could be, just epic. It could be like everything's back to normal and the coronavirus wasn't real, or hey, coronavirus is worse than we thought. Everyone needs to go back inside. We don't know.
well, I mean, there's a lot of countries that are going berserk with their numbers and their cases and their deaths. Like, there's a whole. If you look if you look at that website, that world odometer or whatever, worldometer, and you
Hmm.
look at the individual countries, like you can see some of them have flattened the curve for sure and are on the decline, right?
Yeah.
Most of the ones like that were in our grouping have like kind of flattened the curve and started to come down. Iran has flattened the curve and spiked again, and then it's
Hmm.
kind of flattened again. But you have this whole other wave of like Russia, India, Mexico, Peru, like all these other countries that are having like
Yeah.
huge waves of the thing right now. So it's
Yeah.
like, but so if you look at the graph for the world, it's still just chugging along. Like I think
Mhm.
2 or 3 days ago, we had the most 1 day world cases, but I don't even know what any of that shit means.
No. No, I don't follow it as much anymore. It's kind of over.
Well, I
I'm
guess
over
it
it.
doesn't matter for Toronto what the hell's going on out there. I mean,
Yeah,
it
everyone
can
just got to take,
affect.
apply their own self, regulating policies. So it's either, you keep people safe from you and you keep yourself and your family safe from others, and, do that, and you'll be okay. So let's call it at that, Daryl, and we'll catch up.
That's good.
I'll make sure I have enough information for next week.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there's a lot more articles that I could have put up there, but this was good. It fit almost into an hour. I'm gonna like find a few 10-minute segments that I think maybe we hit something with.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Are you gonna get Aiden to do it?
No, fuck that guy. He's unreliable.
Okay.
He'll
I
get.
started doing video editing for the jiu-jitsu stuff, and it's not so hard.
Are you using that program that I told you?
No, I just do iMovie. It's plenty for what I need.
That's what I was thinking of doing too.
Yeah, it's
I
plenty.
bought Aiden all this stuff, and now it's in the garbage.
Typical. I'm ready. I've got my Marantz professional turret for sale on Kijiji. Let Go.
What's that? Your
It's
microphone thing
podcaster
there?
thing. Yeah,
That's for sale?
yeah.
No, for how much?
Same price I paid.
Well, good luck with that.
Well, no one's said anything yet, so no one's responded to the ad yet.
Why you?
Um,
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Get like a different camera, maybe a better mic, different boom stand would be really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
you should get
yeah,
this thing here.
this was a good start, and I can do something a little bit different.
Why? What's the problem with it? I
I
haven't
guess
noticed the
the
zooming much.
flexibility of the camera only being in that one spot. It would be nice if the camera was about right there, just a little bit down more.
Yeah,
Right.
that's at a
Uh,
good spot. Looks good.
okay.
It looks good actually. It's a good spot. I need a better chair because I keep slouching.
My chair's sick. I'm very
Yeah,
happy
no,
with
you
my
got a
first.
good setup there. We have to
Yeah.
work on these backgrounds though.
Yeah. I need a real estate background.
Mine is just all over the place. It's a
I don't
mess.
know. There's not a better background I can put. I don't know.
We need virtual backgrounds, no?
Green screens.
I have one. Maybe I'll just
But
steal
then there's
Aiden's.
more editing.
Yeah.
No, it's real, man. Don't worry. This is real. This is
This
fine.
is real.
Yeah.
Real estate.
Yeah. Toronto Real Estate Podcast.
I put show. I made a channel.
Okay.
I made a
That's
YouTube
fine.
channel.
All right.
Do we need it to say podcast? Is that the buzzword?
Nope. Let's just do
Toronto
Toronto
Real Estate Show podcast?
No.
It's not a mouthful enough
No.
already.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then figure out how to do it audio only, so that we can get picked up by the podcast placements.
Well, I think you just post on them, no? You don't get picked up.
Okay.
I guess I'll have to do a little bit of research into that.
Yeah, like being on like the Apple podcast, whatever. That'll be one.
Yeah.
And then obviously YouTube is a good one, but it's not a great podcast
I
channel.
guess
for YouTube.
Spotify.
And then Spotify. That'd be cool.
I'll take a look into all that stuff.
All right.
We
got a week to figure out how to.
So if we're gonna have a guest, we're not gonna hit much news unless we're just talking news with the guest.
Well, let's brainstorm and see what we can come up with. If there's anybody that we even know who's willing to show up at a Sunday 10 a.m.
Vitaly will do it. Vitaly owns apartments and a window company.
Perfect.
We both know him. He'd be willing.
Yep. Maybe that's our first guest. There you go.
Why not?
I'd pretty much take anybody right now just to say, yeah, okay, yeah, you're our guest. This is our show.
There's
Welcome.
all kinds of people I'm sure we could get to do it.
Well, you know what I mean. Just nice to have.
I'm sure I could get my other partner, Aaron, to do it, who's my partner in the real estate and owns the garage renovation company.
Perfect.
Maybe some other real estate.
Yeah.
But he would have an interesting perspective. I think any entrepreneur would be interesting to have on, no? Or do they
I think
have to
keep
be...
keep it a real estate related show, though. I think it's.
So is
I think
construction real estate related?
Sure. I mean, we'll make it real
so,
estate
right?
related.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are people doing right now? Are they building? Are they fixing? Are they starting new? Are they staying put? What are they doing?
Vitaly is saying that his windows are booming right now. And same with
I'm waiting for a window and a door on him right now.
Are you?
Yep.
Aaron, my partner Aaron, he says the garage business is going crazy right now. He says all that pent up demand just came flying back in.
I don't get it. Garage, like what?
Their garage, they do like cabinetry and epoxy flooring. And
finishing garages.
Lifts if you have like two Ferraris and like not enough space.
Yeah. I only got one.
Right. So you don't need a lift.
I don't need a lift. Yeah.
But you might need a floor. You know what?
I'm gonna do that with my garage when I'm done, but I'll do it myself.
It's a crazy business. He's got like over 20 franchises across North America.
Yeah.
But he'd
once I'm done,
probably
I'm
be an
gonna put a
interesting
door
guy
in
to
my
talk to.
garage, do some electrical, and then I'm gonna redo the concrete, and then I'll build up from there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Have fun with that. You should film it.
Maybe I will.
I'm gonna have to shave, I think, for next week, and maybe get a little bit of liposuction. What the hell's going on here?
You're fine. I might not have a goatee though next time.
Okay, I'm gonna go make a bet with somebody on that. I'll go bet myself. Maybe I'll get my money back from this week.
Yep. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'll see you. Okay, you too.
Bye.